Good evening, y'all. Happy Monday, and welcome to another great episode of Mason Dixon Podcast with y'all's hosts, Vinny Balducci, Mr. Cameron, and Mr. Chad Dean.
Hey.
Hello.
As always, y'all, remember the views and opinions expressed here on Mason Dixon Podcast and on MAD, our own and just our own views, and they do not represent the views and opinions of any other person, group, or organization. Remember, y'all, that stars help us put up statues. So for those of y'all that want to help put up statues, send us some stars. Another great way to help y'all, and I can't stress this enough, is share the living daylights out of this video. People need to know what's going on, and they need to be informed. And I think if the last week taught us everything, it shows that media does not notice anything until it's too late. So give this video a like, give this a heart, focus on those emojis. I know it's a tough topic, but please refrain from using any angry emoji because we want to make sure our video gets the most amount of views. So give us a heart. Send this video all around to, I want to challenge y'all, share it and send it to 30 people in groups. Share it and get it out there. We are also streaming to another location as well. So it's great to see all of y'all on here tonight. A quick little note that we will also be live at some point during the week, if not later tonight. Our guest that was supposed to be on here had to take care of a personal matter, and we are all praying for our guest. So that is that. But we're going to talk a little bit more about what's been going on in Arlington, because this is a breaking critical news issue that I'm sure a lot of y'all might be curious about. So I guess I'll start it off with the big elephant in the room. I know a lot of people have been worried about what's been going on, and they've also been wondering how can they help? You know, what happened? The good news, Arlington for now is safe until Wednesday. I think they might have moved the trial up to tomorrow, but we have got to stay on this, and we cannot give up on this yet.
Yes.
That's right. We got to stay on top of fundraising. So it's the uncomfortable conversation to have, but it's necessary, y'all. And I've donated to this project.
I have to.
Amen. Our attorneys on this have been working night and day. To give y'all a little bit of history, y'all, Defend Arlington has been the only group from day one that addressed this issue from every angle. They were proactive. They did not wait to the last minute, and they showed every aspect of culture for this memorial. Do any of y'all have any thoughts? And before I tell y'all the big news on this, does any of y'all have any thoughts of what you experienced yesterday with seeing the article that this might come down, seeing that crane in Arlington?
Oh, I was angry. I was just angry.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put it this way. It's a bad way to get ready for Christmas, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right before the holidays, of course.
Yeah, and sounds bad of me to say. Me and Cameron, we were drafting a statement ready to say, if you take this down, well, you're practically, number one, you're throwing away the idea and the action of reconciliation between the two sections. And you're, as Matt Walsh said you're just reopening the wounds of the war. And honestly, I think if they get rid of that, we were more than ready to address and say, you don't want reconciliation? Okay, fine. We'll just follow Texas' lead and prepare for another bout of secession.
It makes it very clear that what messages to send. And my favorite is seeing this picture, y'all. I'm going to share this with y'all. And this is what immediately just struck me as just, oh my goodness. I warned a lot of people months ago that if we don't do something and we are not proactive with this, there will be a crane at Arlington. I've had several people, even some prominent people, tell me there ain't no way in high heaven there'll ever be a crane at Arlington. There's environmental protection codes. My follow-up to that statement, I don't trust the government, and here's why. We've seen what the government did to our ancestors during the horrors of reconciliation, how it was the women of the South that fought so we could have our heritage. And, those that said we'll never see a crane, look at where we're at now. Here's
Yeah,
a
they're
picture I want to share, y'all, and this should upset every single one of you. This is a photo that was shared yesterday, and right here. And I also want to encourage y'all to Save Southern Heritage Florida and Defend Arlington. Look at their page, y'all, and if any of y'all can come out there as a private citizen and observe and, do a shift thing, because we need people to observe what's going on. That would be widely appreciated, because we need to document everything that's happening.
Yeah, I'd
Wreaths
have
across America, y'all. It's a time where people honor veterans. It's a time when they have, wreaths and they talk about being patriotic. What a combo. It should be called Deck the Halls with Wreaths and Wrecking Balls.
Yeah, it's literally what that's exactly that. Deck the halls. Because and it seems conveniently that they do this, because this is the time where we lay down the wreaths. It seems very calculated that they would do this, that they would pick this particular time to do it.
Yep.
And I knew they were banking on doing this before the election, because if Trump was in office, he would essentially veto it and tell him, get out of there, stop what you're doing, or you're fired.
That's right. And the naming commission too, the other big point that we've been saying, y'all, you cannot vote y'all's way out of this. It was a show that this was a bipartisan issue where both the Republicans and the Democrats had united to completely destroy and dismantle our heritage. So that has been something that I've been appalled with. My representative, I called him and I read him the riot act in a nice way. I said, shame on you, because you lied to me. Your staffer told me that you wouldn't touch this memorial, and you voted to keep funding the naming commission. They had every chance at their level of power with their majority, they beating the GOP, to stop this, and they kept funding it. It was only a small faction of the GOP that had been just wonderful in preserving this and trying to fight against it. They gave a whole bunch of signatures. Even one Democrat, Mr. Weber, Congressman Weber, signed it and said, no, stop with this destruction of history. So
And
that's been that.
And I wonder if anyone ever said to him that, Brian Wells here told me that he called Representative Crawford in Arkansas, and he and his staff didn't even know that this was taking place. And so that's got to tell you something. If your own representatives don't even know that this is happening, something's underhanded here, obviously.
Absolutely. And the media has not covered anything that happened. And that should be, and both sides of the media, that should be a slap in the face. It's been, the only time I heard coverage of this talk was on Tucker, which is at night news, which I watch, but a lot of Americans are sleeping. So, unless you shared it and got it out there, people weren't aware of what was happening. And, and now people are shocked, but, we have got to be proactive. And this has been a learning lesson.
Yeah. And Matt Walsh's, and then Matt Walsh talking about this. And if you look at his comments, a lot of people, his audience, people who follow him religiously, are angry. They're angry and they're shocked, but too little too late. Because you guys seen me tag these guys before, saying, look what they're doing. And look this monument, and look who is buried under it. A Jewish Confederate veteran and sculptor. You would think the Daily Wire and all them, or Breitbart even, would be, geared to this, because Moses Ezekiel, the first Jewish cadet at VMI, a prominent Jewish American sculptor who created the Stonewall Jackson statue at VMI and the Reconciliation Monument.
Absolutely. And it really showed people's true colors when we talked about what was occurring here and this whole situation. I shared a link, y'all, and this is the donation link, because I'm going to give y'all immediately a way to help on this. Now, I'm going to talk about the good news. The good news that this was a blessing from the heavens above that we had occur this morning. A temporary restraining order, a TRO. Now, everyone asks, what's a TRO? What does that mean? It's, in layman's terms, a legal order that says everybody must stop. Any construction crew, any of them need to cease and desist and immediately stop action, or they are risking legal action. So this construction company has to immediately stop working. They cannot continue the demolition of this memorial. So right here is a nice little fundraiser. So Defend Arlington has been raising money for the attorney fees, y'all. These attorneys are wonderful, but they ain't cheap. They still got to get paid. And this is what we have to do, is we have to be better than our enemy. Our enemies, like the Southern Poverty Law Center, are experts at raising money. We have to be just as good, if not better, in getting funds together. So in order to help this, we've had a little friendly competition at Defend Arlington. So what we've done is we have had different people, different organizations who have helped us get together and make a little donation page. So the cool thing is we have this amazing organization called Southern Independence Association. They have been another group that has been very on top of this, wonderful in getting people together, women and men involved in this, going out there, making sure that we're updated at what's happening. And they're an amazing organization, and I can't speak highly enough about them. Please join them, get involved in your state's chapter, and help create positive social change. So they're doing this nice little fundraiser, and I'm going to read you all the chart. I sent you all the link of how to donate. Their little fundraiser is cool. So let's say you decide to send $10. Well, you just have 2 raffle tickets. And the raffle is pretty cool. It's going to be drawn on January 2nd, 2024. So this is going to be a continual way to win. $5 for each chance to win. So if you all want a virtual raffle ticket in this, $5. And the prizes that they're offering, a lifetime membership to Southern Independence Association. There's also a wartime CDV of General Lee donated by AP Hill, a Legacy Foundation. And there is a custom made to order 1860s dress valued at $600 that was given by a private donor. And I will also share that image for y'all. So please open that that link and share it to as many people as y'all know. Donate as much as y'all can, because the more you donate, the more y'all have a chance to win. Amen to that, Brian. Amen. And it also shows that they don't want reconciliation by what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's right. And there's no valid reason for this destruction.
No, there isn't. And last I checked too, Vinny, it's what they are doing is illegal. I mean, look at all those graves that are surrounding and the person who's buried directly under it. I mean, I want to know if is the Moses Ezekiel family aware of this?
So they are aware of what's going on. And what happened was during the conference calls I've attended, and they're all public, so y'all can watch those too. We had a Moses Ezekiel family member that has some relation to Moses Ezekiel. He spoke out in defense of this memorial, how it's ridiculous, how they want to come after a grave, that not even cemeteries are safe anymore. And it really shows you how this was never about a Confederate battle flag flying at Charleston. No, look how much is accelerated to. They've dug up multiple graves. And we have vile people. It's a small minority, but they are vile. They're calling for the removal and desecration of the graves at Arlington, that they want to have them exhumed and dug up. That is disgusting.
It is. I mean, last I checked, I'm pretty sure that's illegal. I mean, you got to have permission from the family, first of all, to do that. And because I'm fairly certain back in Richmond, they went around John and all of them and the rest of the Hill family to get rid of AP.
And could y'all imagine what would have happened if nobody claimed AP Hill? What would have happened to his remains?
Yeah.
I don't even want to think about that. This is the problem. And right here, Miss Lynn brings up a great point. That was my thought, military desecration. And this is being done by the government and by the military. And here's what's happening, y'all. The military is in deep doo-doo. They are struggling to recruit members. My grandfather is military and has an inside, connection. And he says they better be ready for finding some way to creatively get people in, because traditionally, families that have sent men and women to the military for generations, they're not sending their children anymore. Some people are quitting because of this. How woke it's gotten, how disgusting it is. These are people's ancestors that they are messing with that proudly served their country after the war between the states. And their responses have been something along the lines of, well, they wanted reconciliation. They ain't getting it after this because they showed that they don't care about it. They're not getting any more of our family who's going to be serving in this. So what happened is the military is now calling people who are either out of shape, they're a little bit older. They're going around in my state and they're calling people to enlist. And what's happening is a lot of people are saying, no, there's no reason because number one, you don't care about veterans, which has been evident. There's homeless veterans on the side of the road. You think the military has raised funds for them? They're too busy spending millions upon millions of dollars to change a street name, to destroy a grave, when you have people that served and they can't even get a meal in their stomach.
Yeah, and the VA is hemorrhaging as usual, and what's bad too is that from what I've heard from a lot of my kinfolk who have served or have been serving as of late, for example, the Navy is hemorrhaging. Help me find the word.
Hemorrhaging.
Thank you. I had a brain fart. Hemorrhaging for recruits or hemorrhaging to keep retention, practically throwing extra money and bonuses at them, just practically begging them to stay in the ranks.
That's right. They're not having it anymore. People are done. They've realized what a scam this has been. And I think this is the biggest learning lesson for a lot of people that, it's a wake-up call. You give 1 inch, you lose a country. You lose your heritage. It all started with a small group who got their way with removing the flag at Charleston, and look at where we're at now.
Yeah. And it just accelerated. It began with removing a flag, and now we're digging up graves.
That's right.
Well, the original insult was putting the cemetery in Robert E. Lee's yard at Arlington House. And now you're expecting the same government over 150 years later to protect the legacy of Confederate dead. It's just not going to happen.
Absolutely. And I agree with Chad right there that this whole land should never have been a cemetery. It was made a cemetery as a way to insult General Lee after they looted his entire estate.
Yeah, and they did that in his front yard, of all things, so he could look.
Have any of you ever taken a tour at Arlington National Cemetery?
No,
I've never.
Because it's so woke.
I have, and it is insulting, rude, and other negative words how the tour guides who are not affiliated with the military, I assume they're Park Service, National Park Service, tell the story of how the property was taken from Robert E. Lee. They tell the story with a glimmer in their eye, like it's a proud moment for them, what they did to that man and his property. I urge you, if you have not taken a tour there, to do it and take the tour using a Confederate lens, a critical eye. And, this memorial could be gone in 48 hours time, so it's probably too late. But regardless, if you do go, whether it's tomorrow, the next day, or if it stays up and you do it weeks from now, you'll see what I'm talking about. Anytime you attempt to work with or compromise with evil, if you're meeting them halfway, you're still giving ground to evil. The only way to deal with these people is a full separation.
Amen to that. And did you also see the General Lee statue they have inside there? Because this is what was so insulting. They put a statue that General Lee doesn't even look like himself, and they did that to insult the man. And to add insult to injury, they had this little thing for recommendations or whatnot. So my buddy John, who went there the one time, he wrote exactly what they've been doing with destroying history on that board.
Yeah.
There was one national news outlet this afternoon that reported that the memorial in question has been taken down, which goes to show you either A, news is inevitable The headlines are written before things happen. I don't want to say inside information, but Dewey defeats Truman, et cetera, et cetera. But you wonder why your congressman may not be aware of this. For starters, there are 535 congressmen overall. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. You have to realize the number of people that each congressman represents, the number of square miles that each congressman represents. They can't possibly keep track of everything in their own district, let alone the country. So you have to reach out to them. The squeaky wheel does get the grease, but I will say this as well. What we're dealing with now is kind of like waving the bloody shirt in reverse. Just like reminding people that the Republican Party was the party that quote unquote won the Civil War and used that to win elections for the next decade plus. I call it waving the bloody shirt in reverse now, because whether we're talking about rhinos or deeply conservative Republicans, they all know that if they take a strong stance that is pro-Confederate, pro-Southern, or even pro-history, they're going to be labeled as racists. And so I'm not saying we need to do a better job, because it might be impossible, but so long as there is a stigma attached to Southern culture, Southern history, etc., it's never going to be a winning issue amongst politicians. There's not one politician I can think of that will hang their career on this particular issue, or any issue that is of concern to Southern people, our type of Southern people, not geographically Southern, but historically Southern people. They're just not going to do it because they think it will cost them more votes than it will gain them.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I think, too, to that point, we have to make those people, those Congress critters, aware that, you know what, they voted to either fund this naming commission if they did, and we got to make them show that we're not going to vote for them. They will lose their next election. And that's how I worded it with my Congress critter. I told him, I said, you know what, I will do everything in my power to make sure you lose that next election. I said, even if I have to campaign against you, you were put in a position where you were supposed to represent the people and defend history and defend all that and these wonderful quote unquote conservative values you preached, but you have yet to do that. And the amount of disappointment I had was monumental. Miss Lynn asks, FYI, Newsmax just reported the statue stays for now. Yes, Miss Lynn, a TRO has been granted, which means a temporary restraining order. And it is just that. It prevents anybody from touching or doing anything else to that memorial. So they have got to be aware that they do that, they're going to be facing legal trouble. Amen to that, Brian Wells. And that's another great conversation.
Yeah, the last Jeffersonian, Brian, was probably Jimmy Carter. He was a Republican with a small R, as Dr. McClanahan would have described him. He was the last true Jeffersonian and true Southerner in office before the rhinos of the post-Nixon administration and post-Ford administration came along.
Absolutely.
Well, he pandered to the South, the cultural South, by having Willie Nelson at the White House and coming on stage before Leonard Skinner concerts and telling people who his favorite professional wrestler was, who, by the way, was Mr. Wrestling too. But I, as a true and traditional Southerner, wouldn't want anybody to connect Jimmy Carter to me under any circumstances. But Republicans are just as bad. I will not register for either major party. And quite frankly, I'm not sure that voting even matters at this point. We need, I would call it a middle way, a third way, but an exit. How many constitutions, how many republics has France had? They have rewritten their constitution repeatedly. I'm not sure that the amendments that we continue to tack on to our Constitution are very meaningful at this point. They certainly drift away from the original intent. And so it sounds cliche or kind of pie in the sky, but we either need to go back to the drawing board like we did when we got rid of the Articles of Confederation, or some type of convention of the states, or just finally do it, and just the red states need to just walk out. I mean, South Carolina, when it seceded in 1860, there was no safety net, there was no blueprint, and I would argue it was more of a procedural secession than anything else. They kind of wanted to see how the federal government would react. With that said, if you look at Mexico, you might need to shield your eyes if you do, but Yucatan has seceded from Mexico multiple times. It's kind of like the whole interposition thing from the 1820s and 1830s. John C. Calhoun wasn't wrong. You put yourself, your state, in between the issue and the federal government, and you see what you can get. And so, any politician or any of us that thinks that it is pointless, impossible, or will draw the wrath of the federal government or military, I'm here to tell you that it has been done multiple times before. It starts with semantics. Just because you secede does not mean it starts a civil war. It's the last resort when, what would you call it? When parliamentary procedure doesn't work, right? Then you walk out, and it puts you on another plane as far as negotiating. It shows that you mean business. And so I'll conclude with that every time, that you're not going to vote this problem away. It's just not going to happen.
Absolutely. And to that point, how many people have we had who claim that they're going to do something, they would do this and that? And the reality is, number one, they can't do anything when they're in office. Number two, a lot of them just turn their back on you once they're in, and they become a victim to the salary. And that has been what we've seen. We have not had any positive change. I love the point about how you have Republicans who have won using the war between the states or Civil War for years and years and years after that war in the 1800s. And it was near impossible to get a true conservative in office after that, during that time. We almost had another secession. I remember when they had that one election, forgot which year, but the agreement was to allow the Republican in the office in the 1800s, and then it gave the South somewhat more rights, or the illusion of that, I guess you could say.
That was the election of 1876/compromise of 1877. That's what ended Reconstruction and the occupation of the last couple Southern states. What the South got was basically one cabinet member in Rutherford B. Hayes's cabinet. And I think it was like Postmaster General or something pointless like that. But hear me out on this in terms of the word secession. Apparently, it's only evil and wrong and bad if the South does it. Go back to the War of 1812. Look up the Hartford Convention. The New England states considered secession. That was okay. William Lloyd Garrison suggested that the northern states secede from the southern states in order to get away from slavery. That was okay. But the Southerners do it in order to protect their states' rights. And we could get into a whole lot of arguments about the Fifth Amendment and the 10th Amendment, but the South secedes as a procedural matter to formalize their discontent with the government and the election of Lincoln, and all of a sudden secession is wrong. It's about slavery, yada, yada, yada. So what we can do is do a better job of educating people, because I guarantee you the public school, the mainstream media, textbooks, everything in between isn't doing it.
No, it ain't. And the only way around that is homeschool.
Yes.
Yeah. And another thing too is when I've said to somebody that secession was not unique to the South, but it was from the North, because the first idea of secession was when Thomas Jefferson was elected in 1800, and the Federalists were broaching men like John Taylor of Caroline.
And I also have another thing I want to share with y'all too. And I like that point too about how the northern states, no one knows about that one. Or my favorite is you have people that claim to be conservative and they say 1776. They don't know their history about American Revolution.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, what did they do? They seceded from Britain. Huh. So
Yep.
I thought you thought secession was bad.
The secession ordinance is the same thing as the Declaration of Independence. People, it's just a
Yes.
different word. I
Yep.
mean, it's
New York considered declaring itself a free city, an independent city during the Civil War,
Yes.
seceding from the North over, among other things, the draft. West Virginia,
yep.
I,
That's another
I,
good example.
with dubious legality, seceded from Confederate Virginia. That was okay, but how dare
Yeah.
we do it?
Mm-hmm.
And I hear calls for uniting West Virginia with Maine, Virginia. And
Yeah, I've heard that about that recently as well.
yeah, and honestly, I think that'd be a good thing. A lot of conservatives in West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Something else we could do is to highlight the other separatist movements around the country.
Mm-hmm.
The eastern shore of Maryland is nothing like Baltimore, Washington, Annapolis. It'd be a very small state. Perhaps it could combine with Delaware and the eastern shore of Virginia to make the state of Delmarva. You look at the state of Washington. Eastern Washington is very rural. It's kind of like rodeo country, wants nothing to do with dirty, grungy Seattle. I could go on and on. But what I think we should watch in terms of our moment, look at Quebec. Quebec has come very close to voting themselves into independent status and breaking away from Canada. The last time they tried that sort of referendum, it failed to pass. It was like 50.1 to 49.9. That's how narrow it was. But what I'm saying is this: if one of these succeeds, not secedes, but succeeds, if the province of Quebec in Canada leaves Canada, I think it's going to be that much easier for all the things that we want to do. It just takes one, you know? And so we can help out our fellow separatists by educating ourselves about these other movements around the country, by supporting them, by talking to our friends, by posting on social media about how these things exist. I just, in conclusion, shake my head at people who think that the Union is perpetual, the Constitution is untouchable. There are no absolutes,
No.
which is an absolute in itself. So that's my attempt at humor. But we just have to continue banging the drum and educating people, because we take this stuff for granted. I guarantee you 99% of the population has no idea what we're talking about on this podcast.
And education to that point is half the battle. I talk to a lot of people that they do not know the basics on this, and you almost have to take the time to either do a program or get a speaker or get them to watch a good video that can describe it, or read a book. They have to become informed, and once you're informed, that's what makes you able to do what you want to do and actually see positive change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've said to somebody before that secession does not start a war. It's trying to use military force to bring them back, is what starts it. Because for example, because I mean, look at Europe. I mean, there are some countries that broke off peacefully. I mean, there was, aside from the sectarian violence down in the southern parts of Yugoslavia and Bosnia, they broke off. The northern bits broke off rather peacefully, because you have Czech Republic, you have Montenegro, you have Croatia and Serbia, and you have, because I mean, if you have these different people, cultures, and languages and religions. You can't force them together if they don't want to be together. I mean,
Yeah, if self-determination was good enough for Woodrow Wilson after World War One, it should be good enough for us. Because golly day, since day one, the South has been a different culture than the rest of the 13 colonies and the rest of the country as it stands today.
yeah. Yeah, because I mean, even today, the South is very different. Yeah, very different from obviously New England, the Midwest, and it's drastically different than California. And I mean, it's when Donald Trump got elected, there was Calexit. California wanted to secede, and I mean, if they and then you got what that bullcrap thing up in Seattle, Washington, when they did the Chaz Chop.
Yes,
Some
yeah.
people applauded them, but if we want to do it, we get for lack of a word, we get either laughed out of the room, or they crack out the book and say why you can't.
And to that point, Corey, we had a group in New Jersey, and I always tell people, check this group out. It is comical. People don't know that Lincoln had socialist ties and Marxist ties, and that was the early GOP. It was actually pro-big federal government, and it still is for the most part. It's just packaged differently. You know, it's like, how many times can you put a wig on a pig and call it a dog? It's still a pig at the end of the day.
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
Oh yeah, and this group, this person who was there, what ended up happening was he goes on there and he says, you know, we have to bring the GOP back to Lincoln standards. And my response was, so you mean socialism and pro-big government? And he just completely ignores it. And I keep going with education. I'm giving all sources. I'm being nothing but respectful. This gentleman gives me all ad hominem attacks. He is going on saying that I don't know nothing, that I need a history lesson. And I told him I've taken history classes and I'm working on my PhD. So I know my stuff and I did additional research. So we go on and arguing. Well, I get booted from the group and I get banned from the group because I'm educating. And I'm saying this is why. This is a Republican who is calling for the desecration of our graves. And you're like, how the heck can they still be there? And how the heck are they allowed to be in office? And then the group is called the New Jersey Constitutional Republicans. I tell people, look them up because you'll find that there's connections that you'd never imagine.
Yeah, and another thing too is that if a lot of these 48ers from the post 1848 revolutions in Europe were fleeing here, Canada, Australia, and if anyone who's read Lincoln's Marxists, you would find a number of Union generals who were booted out of Europe because of their socialist revolutions and ties with and left-wing groups out there. And also Lincoln was a pen pal to Karl Marx. And there's a little pamphlet called Sermons on Socialism by Abraham Lincoln.
Absolutely.
The 48ers, Young America, Carl Schurz and company, they found a willing fool in Lincoln, somebody who is ambitious enough to take them to the top, but stupid enough to not realize that he was being played like a violin by these people. And this is common knowledge to us. You start talking about this type of thing in a class, in a social media forum, whatever you're talking about, you'll get run out of the room. You'll be called un-American. You'll be called racist. You'll be called a liar. But stand up for your truth because it is the truth. Anything that's not in a textbook, it's not there for a reason. We have just the same ability to have editorial control, editorial freedom, and continue to trumpet this stuff. I swear my life's work should be destroying Lincoln. If these people can run around and advocate to rename streets, to destroy statues, we're above that. We're not going to desecrate things, but we can certainly destroy the reputation of people who are absolute evil and tyrannical, like one Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, and we can also go after men like Grant and Sherman, especially Sherman, who, I mean, that guy has a monument. I can't remember if it was in Columbus. Is that right, Cameron? He's got a monument down in Columbus.
I'll have to check on that. I'm not sure.
He also has one in New York City. It's made out of gold too. It's got a lot of gold on it.
Yeah, because I can't remember if it was Columbus, but it was a city that he personally shelled and pillaged, and they have a monument to him there, and in the South, and that is just, that's got to tell you something. There's that. What can I tell you? What's wrong with that?
Yeah, it really shows too that, because monuments are about freedom, and memorials as a better term, because memorial, it's really about honoring the dead. And it shows you that we have memorials to honor the generals, the regular Southern soldier. And we also have, the one person who, Southern civilian, because there's a lot of them. I know there's been several monuments, the civilian POWs, that all they had was different opinion and they got jailed. So there is that. The other thing too,
we have a plaque here in my hometown and I told you the story too about the women who were brutally tortured by the federal soldiers, having their feet in the fireplace in the coals. We have that on a plaque and down the steps of the courthouse.
Oh, I know. There's another one too, I think in Florida, that mentions it. And Virginia had a few of them too that talked about how the Southerners were treated and the civilians were badly attacked, with some like Custer attacking the civilians in, I believe it was Harrisonburg around. And also to that point, it was mentioned earlier as well, and this is another point to piggyback off of, the inside job. People know who people are, and this is just simply stating a fact, and y'all can come to your own conclusions on this. Every time a memorial is removed, there's a company that does it. Now, these companies are, these companies are basically going on saying, okay, we've got to, we got to remove it, this and that, but they don't always ask themselves, does my company have a bad reputation after being complicit in the destruction of a priceless work of art? Virginia, for example, had a company that destroyed all of Monument Avenue. They were not gentle. They were not, kind with it. They completely went in there and basically manhandled these memorials that were delicate. A lot of them were trashed up, destroyed, broken down to rubble. And the pieces of the memorials were, badly treated. They broke them up and they would sell them. So you would have a piece of the memorial, you pay the money. We covered that last year when they destroyed AP Hill's grave.
Yeah.
Anyone want to take a guess at what the company that is complicit in the removing Arlington is?
The same one.
Here's a picture of the truck. And again, this is a fact, y'all. Smedley Crane and Rigging. And there's a number on it. And again, I tell people as private citizens, do your civic duty and voice your opinion. Call them up. Say, hey, let them know what you think of them destroying a priceless work of art, a grave, a memorial to a Jewish American. It's absolutely ridiculous what has been allowed to occur.
Yeah. And that's and I hope somebody gets on their Yelp reviews and leaves 1 or less than a half star and make a comment.
Yep, and that goes for documentarists like Ken Burns. That goes for restaurants in Lexington, Virginia, like the Red Hen that was recently shut down. for their liberal views. Boycotts are not illegal. They're not violent, and they take many forms in today's digital world. You got to crowdsource things. And I have been involved in politics in various ways, forms, and shapes over the years. If you think that, let's say, the office of congressman don't pay attention, or if like just you and your friends, let's say you get a dozen people to call, email, or write your congressman, oh, that's just a dozen out of a couple 100,000 in your district. Rule of thumb, congressmen only ever expect to hear from 2% of their district. And so do the math. If you and a dozen friends contact them, it multiplies exponentially, because hardly anybody is going to contact them about anything. So like I said before, squeaky wheel gets the grease. If you believe that your voice matters to them, and I've had a congressman who says he's going to vote his conscience. He doesn't care what his constituents think, so don't even bother to call. But if you think your voice matters, only if it's just a handful of you, do it, because again, the statistics being what they aren't hearing from that many people on very many issues at all. So put ours on blast. That's the best I can tell you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love, because boycotts work. And that Red Hen, that restaurant, who I remember was so hateful to our heritage and this and that. Oh, it is so satisfying to watch them close their business down and goodbye and good riddance.
And I saw that they still, when Lee Jackson Day comes around, the former owners and them will still come out and protest. It's even though they lost their business.
They're closing down the Red Hen, and then they're opening another business in its place, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think I read that from Susan Lee.
They're going to try to, but it's, again, same thing. It won't be effective. They're only going to be wasting more money. And apparently they've just given up on protesting us, because we go down there and they just dead quiet. No one comes out from them.
True. Yeah.
Rebrandings don't work if you trumpet what they are. So I've seen memes that say make them cry, and then make memes about them crying, and so we're going to stomp a mud hole in those business owners until they realize they need to get out of town for good. Try something else somewhere else.
Yeah, that's why, for example, I don't buy a lot of, for example, I don't buy Folgers coffee, and I don't buy any coffee from any coffee house or shop. As of for this last couple of months, I've been buying strictly Confederate Coffee Company. And I encourage a lot of people who follow the podcast to do the same, because put your money where your values are, and if your values reflect protecting monuments and going towards a small business, put it there. Don't support companies that don't reflect your values.
Yep. Cameron will tell you that we did this all the time in Salisbury, North Carolina. There was one barbecue chain that welcomed the Fame Preservation Group. And there were other ones in town. I don't want to mention the name of the company, the name of the business, but it's Go Burrito. They always came out as extremely liberal. There was a bookstore in town that always came out as very liberal, and we just would not shop there, and we let everybody else know. So, all politics is local, and you do what you can do in your radius, in your home area. But seriously, spread the word, and not only talk the talk, but walk the walk. When Walmart pulled Confederate apparel in 2015, following the Dillon Roof debacle, I did not shop at Walmart for years. The National Park Service pulled Confederate stuff out of even Civil War battlefield visitor centers. I boycotted the National Park Service. for years, and I let them know it every chance I got, and you have to as well.
Absolutely. And the
Yeah.
National Park Service, they have been progressively getting worse and worse. They
Mhm.
have gone as far as to basically, we used to go to Fort Delaware. We don't go there anymore. And they did a whole revision, rewriting in 2020. They lost a very great member who would actually still speak the truth and fight against them. So when he passed on, they did a makeover, and they are portraying Confederate prisoners at Fort Delaware as being happy, being well-fed,
Mm.
having lots of food, and how they would rather be here in prison getting fed than being on the battlefield, which is exactly the opposite of what happened. And the people portraying them had no idea. They were talking to people whose ancestors starved to death at that prison and are buried in New Jersey. And what ended up happening was, they walked over to, to the person, they shook their head and they walked away, and they go, "What do we say?" And I educated them. I said, "I'm sorry, but y'all were fed wrong information. People died here. The reality is the food was not good. It was spoiled. Y'all have been fed a whole bunch of nonsense, and I think it's time to do the right thing and resign."
Mhm.
That was the last time I was ever there. Great to see you, Dr. Sullivan. How are you? And the other person in here, Ms. Julie, says she's from Idaho. Welcome. And Ms. Lynn brings up a good point. The Google reviews work. Give a 1-star review to this company, the Smedley Towing Company. And it's all fact. They don't respect veterans. Say something like wreaths and wrecking balls, what a combo, and put a photo up so they can actually see, so people could be aware of what's occurring.
Calling a company anti-Semitic, if it's true, is also a death knell time to that company. And if
Yes,
you
it would
explain how and why Smedley is, then you go right ahead.
Yeah,
That's right.
because who's buried under that monument? Moses Ezekiel, the first Jewish VMI student there, and renowned Jewish American sculptor.
Absolutely. That they're desecrating a grave of Moses Ezekiel, who is a Jewish American veteran.
Yeah.
I also shared something before y'all, the coin, and that was a Stone Mountain coin. And we're Save Southern Heritage Florida is doing this little raffle. So the first, to Save Southern Heritage, the first, 5 people who give a donation of $50 or hopefully more will be put in to win the coin. We're going to look and we're going to select the first 5 that donate $50 or more. They're going to show proof of a receipt to Save Southern Heritage Florida, and they're going to email Save Southern Heritage Florida the receipt, and then where to send it if they are chosen. And we will follow back if they are chosen. We find out they are one of the first 5. We will send them a coin. And that is one of our, donation gifts that we are offering at Save Southern Heritage Florida. So many great ways to, raise funds for this, y'all, because we're all in this together. This is iconoclasm that we are fighting, and we are not giving up on this. And anybody who wants to come down, look at Save Southern Heritage Florida. Just come as a regular civilian, private citizen. Come on down there and help them as they do shifts, watching to see what's going on for updates. It's a whole team effort, and it's so important. So that is that, y'all. That is a picture of the crane and all that. So make sure y'all do y'all civic duty and respond to that. I don't want this video to be too long, only because I want people to continue to watch this after the fact and share it so they can find other ways to get involved in this. We warned everyone that, do you want to see a crane in Arlington? That became, we had a meme that actually had that. It was a hypothetical. And I can't tell you how many people, just looked and they saw what that picture was like. And they go, oh my gosh, we don't ever want to see a crane in Arlington. So right there is just more proof that this is what's been going on. And Mr. Bryan says, how long is the TRO, temporary restraining order, going to last? Mr. Bryan, it's only going to last, as we know, until Wednesday. Now, they are trying to get a trial by tomorrow. So within 48 hours, we're going to have some kind of response on this. temporary is temporary. We were praying that it would be a lot longer, but it at least halted them in their tracks for doing their evil deed today. And we hope that this judge will rule in favor of keeping this memorial up and saying that, no, this is grave desecration. This company, they did. Exactly. They moved it up to tomorrow. Thank you for confirming that, Ms. Renee, because I heard several people and I'm just waiting for another one. This company is, by the way, from Connecticut. They are brutal. They are anti-history, anti-veteran. They have damaged graves on the way in there. So the fact that they have already desecrated a soldier's grave, that should be a warning, y'all, that if they could remove this memorial, they are coming for the graves next to Arlington. And it's not just Confederates who are buried in the circle. There are other Confederates all throughout Arlington who had service in the Confederate Army. They come for these graves, they'll come for the other people next, and it will never end, y'all. And y'all want to know who's going to be next after this? Guarantee it. World War I veterans, because now the history books are attacking them. There was a Pearson history book that is implying that World War I veterans were white supremacists and racists. That's where this has gone to, y'all.
Yeah. You gotta love CRT and all that junk in our classes now.
That's right.
Yeah, because I mean, I guarantee y'all they will come after not just World War One. They'll probably come after World War II soldiers, our great grandfathers, and our great grand uncles. Because I guarantee you, because they'll probably come after mostly our sailors. I'd imagine the ones who fought in the Pacific Theater, our sailors and our Marines.
Smithsonian already tried that in the 1990s with a very critical look at dropping the atomic bomb. A lot of those things are test runs to see how the public will react. So yeah, you're exactly right. They'll try again. Don't forget, Spanish-American War was an imperialist war, and so veterans from that war, they'll have to go. It'll never end unless, and I don't want to foreshadow anything here, but or imply anything, but it's never going to end until we put a stop to it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that war too, Spanish-American War, is heavily criticized too by Pearson. They go all over the place, to do all that. It's just really ridiculous. Like, they'll find every war, any way they can connect it to any of the isms or the CRT they do. They have actually started doing that with World War II when they talk about the Japanese internment camps. So they've done that already for world history and all that. And it's only a matter of time, y'all, before, World War I, which has already been canceled out, they've had monuments get removed. That's happening already. World War II, it's going to be when the last World War II veteran passes on, they're going to start coming for World War II. Mark my words. That's the case with every single war. When the last veteran passes on, that's when they attack the memory.
They might go after Revolutionary War as well. You never know.
They've done that in Jersey.
And they've also, remember when BLM and Antifa were desecrating headstones and attempting to dig up and exhume and dig up and flip over graves? Well, they've done that not just to Confederates. They've done it to Revolutionary and War of 1812 soldiers. I heard of a story of them desecrating a grave and taking their buttons.
Nothing shocks me with them, because they will go to extreme lengths to do something, insane. And that's exactly what it is. Dr. Sullivan has a company. Just type it on Google. Smedley Company via Google. It's a Connecticut company. People have been leaving a lot of honest one-star reviews. They don't respect veterans. In this age of anti-Semitism, how could they do something so sinister and be part of something destroying the grave of a Jewish American sculptor and veteran? And they're already at a 2.5 on Google.
And I wonder, is this the same company that took down AP Hills?
I believe it is. It might be. I have to look into that. That one I'm not sure, but it is the same company. I know for certain it's the same company that destroyed all of Monument Avenue. Right here, Amarillo, Texas. They removed a World War I doughboy monument.
Yeah, and anyone who don't know what a doughboy is, it's a National Guard.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's true because it's right. In an age of anti-Semitism that's blatant, y'all, we had a rabbi who spoke and gave testimony in defense of this monument because it was made by a Jewish American sculptor and it's part of Jewish American history. How could somebody say, I wrote a letter to one of my Congress critters and left a message too to his staffer that he sent this thing out denouncing anti-Semitism, but he was complicit in it when he allowed the naming commission to directly attack a memorial to a Jewish American sculptor and veteran. What message does that send? That's the biggest contradiction I've seen. So we all need prayers, y'all. We need donations. We need some kind of activism. Share this video. I cannot stress this enough. Share it to at least 30 different groups and people. Get it out there. People have got to be aware of what's going on. Does anyone have any last final shots at this?
I think you just did it all, bud.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hopefully tomorrow it'll be in our favor and, they can halt this whole thing. That's what I'm praying for. Hopefully donation stuff helps as well with the lawyers that are out there fighting.
Yes.
And this is everybody united in this. There are people that are Jewish that are praying. There are people that are Catholic, Christian that are praying. Right here, Mr. Nathan, he says, my Catholic friends and others have been doing daily rosary prayers to protect the memorial. We are trying to trust God and the other prayers of the Blessed Mother. Amen.
Amen. Yeah. And I honestly hope it's in our favor, because if not, then it's just a slippery slope and a downward spiral to, well, getting rid of the reconciliation monument is a message sending they don't want reconciliation. And if they don't want reconciliation, then why should we take part in this Lincolnite empire?
Absolutely. Right here, Miss Dr. Sullivan says, cranes and wreaths. I'm sure the money you will make will allow you to sleep well at night, but I hope your conscience gnaws at you for removing a reconciliation monument that was designed to unite rather than to divide. Thus was a headstone for Moses Ezekiel. You are part of the problem, is her review to this company. Amen, Dr. Sullivan.
Very good. Very good.
What I want to do now, y'all, I think we should all say a prayer right now.
Aye.
Dear Lord, please give us all the strength to save this memorial, and please grant us a great result tomorrow. Please be with us there to help us through these hard times and protect our heritage for years to come, and grant us the strength to continue going out there and leading the cause and inspiring others with the goodness of their heart to stand up and protect their ancestors. Amen.
Very good.
It was a headstone. That's right.
It is the headstone.
Mm-hmm. Just like AP Hills was a headstone as well. And now his is gone. And John Hill's out there working hard to get him his obelisk out there.
Yeah. They went after monuments that served as headstones.
Mm-hmm.
The Reconciliation Monument, Forest, and I can't remember the general's name down in Florida.
General Loring.
General Loring, yes. These people, they have no morals, no values.
Mm-hmm.
They just nothing but darkness. They just want to. Yes, I saw that. I saw that too. Yes, that they made 1.7 million, and there's a Confederate currency, kind of like a what do you call it? Not crypto, but
a crypt. Is that what you're talking about?
No, cryptocurrency.
Currency. Okay.
Or what a. Yeah, they're lit. And John has no doubts that Mayor LeVar Stoney had a kickback on that.
100%.
Yes.
That's right. Kind of like a Bitcoin.
He's running for governor next election cycle. If you're wondering who to not support, whoever his challengers are, support them.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
That would be good. Get him out of.
We need to get rid. He just needs to go. And
he needs to be in jail for what he did because he violated so many laws, vicarious liability. He didn't. When you tell the police and firefighters don't do your job, don't stop people from rioting, that's dangerous level thinking right there.
Yes. It's derelict of duty.
That's right.
And not only does he need to be in jail, he needs to be impeached and thrown in a penitentiary.
Well, any politician who violates their oath should be immediately removed. But again, educate people on how that could be done. And perhaps you don't even live in a state that has recall. There's a grassroots thing that you can do to expedite the process. Not every state has recall.
That's right.
I know California has recall. They constantly
They tried to, yeah. I feel like that might have been stolen as well, but there's no real telling.
Yeah. I'm fairly confident Arkansas has recall, but I doubt it because it's something I don't think we've ever done.
Yeah,
but
or had to do, thankfully.
Or had to do, yeah. Normally, if someone, all we've ever done is if you don't want somebody in office, you just vote him out. You primary him or vote for his challenger.
Yeah.
And if he did any malfeasance, then he or she is impeached, found if guilty, found guilty, and then governor appoints a replacement.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So that is definitely a great point to lead this off on there because this is a good discussion for another great episode. I want to thank y'all as always for being on here, taking the time out of your day to come on here and really help spread the news and opinions and inspire other people. I want to truly thank all of our supporters here at Monuments Across Dixie, Southern Independence Association, Defend Arlington, Save Southern Heritage Florida, and the various members of all history and heritage groups that support us. We could not be here without y'all. Y'all made this temporary restraining order possible by supporting Defend Arlington and supporting us here. So I just want to acknowledge all of y'all for being able to give what you can. And may we have a great result tomorrow. And we will be keeping y'all updated.
We will.
And if you don't hear from us anytime soon, I hope you guys have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And hope 2024 brings us. We just hope that 2024 would be our year for a change.
Amen.
Amen. For a renaissance. That's what we need.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We need a renaissance.
And I think we might even be doing a Christmas special, but just in case, y'all, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas on here. Hope y'all are celebrating. We use Christmas as a time to educate. My historical society, I go out there, I dress up as a Confederate soldier, I hand out stuff, and I educate them what's going on, and they love it. Nothing but positivity.
Yeah, and I think Virginia Flaggers also has a guy dressed in a Santa suit with a flag.
Yes, they do, and they've been in several Christmas parades, and I love it because it shows that when they go to a parade, people love what they do.
Mm-hmm. God bless Dixie.
Yep. God bless.
Miss Gerald, great to see you. Amen. Southern Christmas. I love it. I am going to be doing another read aloud, y'all. So for those of y'all that have children or who have friends and family who are in any kind of history and heritage group, y'all are going to love that live. I'm going to read aloud the Confederate Night Before Christmas. Like I do every year, and it's a great read. It's a great book. I was able to find a copy, and it's an important story. I wish I got to reprint it because that would be wonderful.
Yes.
All right, y'all. So please watch this replay. Again, please share this video. Please donate to any of the funds. Y'all stay Southern. May we have a great result tomorrow. And Deo Vendice, y'all.
Dale Vindice, y'all, and stay unreconstructed.
Yep.
Amen.
Southern.
And Southern.